Welcome back to the Buffalo Bulls Dynasty. We have now completed 7 full years in the series, and we ended year 7 with a Birmingham Bowl victory after falling short in the ACC title our first year in the ACC. It was our first time taking a step back in the series, seeing continual growth until last year, which I don't think was all that surprising. We had lost a lot of players, it was a new conference, but we went 9-5, we finished the year with a bowl win. But we now get to look ahead to Season 8 with one of the most exciting recruiting classes we've had in this series. We're going to talk about some of the best players we've ever recruited. I streamed the offseason back on Sunday, and there is a 3.5 hour long stream if you wish to watch it there. Today I'm recapping that offseason stream and adding some things in at the end that'll take us all the way to the beginning of season number 8. To begin the offseason, I knew we'd only lose 7 seniors, but I was wondering if any players on this team could look to declare to the NFL draft. Specifically, Antoine Gatto and Byron Gammon. Gammon was already a top 5 cornerback in college football. I felt like there was a pretty good chance he would end up leaving. For fun, I like to check out what job offers are there, although we are never leaving Buffalo in this dynasty. But if I wanted to, I could be the head coach at number 14 West Virginia, which the game considers that to be a job upgrade. Let's go to the college football playoff bracket. We did not make it this year. Miami won the ACC, and then Syracuse and Stanford also made it to the playoff. But it's Oregon who takes down Nebraska at the very end, winning 31-17, and they are the newest champions of the dynasty. Here's the bracket one more time, and now we begin our pursuit towards returning to the playoff, which begins with seeing who is leaving Buffalo. This was an absurdly small class of graduating seniors, but would anybody decide to transfer or leave early for the NFL? 2 players would decide to leave. Byron Gammon does declare to the NFL draft as a redshirt sophomore, just 2 years of play after his redshirt season. And then running back Joshua Bloom decides to transfer due to playing style concerns. Now, you'll notice the persuasion chance to have them return was high, but my rule in this series has always been, if a player declares and they're going to be projected to land in the first 3 rounds, I don't convince them to stay. So Byron Gammon does leave Buffalo. I also wanted to check on our old quarterback in David Ogbonna. He was not one of the 70 players that chose to transfer away from North Carolina. I'm not sure what's going on here with their program. They are losing a lot of talent this season. I even checked on Oregon, and it didn't seem they had like an overwhelming number of draft picks leaving their team. But going back to Buffalo, Joshua Bloom, I could have convinced to stay. But I do look at the situation with some of these players, and I kind of want them to leave because it feels a lot more realistic. Looking at our depth chart at running back, how many good young players we have, the fact that we played a true freshman as our primary guy last season, I thought it made the most sense for both Meyer and Bloom to leave. So I made that known during the stream that I wanted Meyer to transfer, and I was going to try to find a way to get him onto another team. So I end up not convincing Bloom to stay because I'm planning on building this backfield around DeMarco Lacombo, incoming freshman Keenan Cleveland, and Jimmy Sampson. We check on the draft results then, and Buffalo ends up with 4 players selected. Chauncey Baptiste, John Burns, the 2 guards, go in round 2 along with Byron Gammon, and then Kalen Meekin sneaks into round 7. We see Miami, the team that won the ACC, had a lot of draft picks and a couple early players. They lose a lot of NFL talent this season. It'll be interesting to see what happens as a result now in the ACC. So let's get to recruiting. I only recruited a handful of players during the year because we only had 7 players that were going to be graduating. So the only high school recruit left on my board was kicker Charlie Bowanko. I was still trying to bring him in, but otherwise I was going to look for a couple players maybe in the transfer portal. But that's where we ran into an issue. I couldn't even recruit 99% of the players in the portal. I don't know why this happens. It's not the first time in the Dynasty I've basically been locked out of the portal. North Carolina had so many players leave, I can't recruit any of them. And so there wasn't really much else to do here. I was basically done recruiting before getting to the offseason. This is the entire list of players I could try to recruit, and they were all 2-stars. So you know what, I did scout one for fun, but didn't like Ben Berry enough to offer a scholarship. Here we go, a kicker, Charlie Bowanko, commits to Buffalo to finish off our recruiting class. We end up seeing Joshua Bloom transfer away, and he goes back home to Kentucky, where he will now join the Wildcats. Buffalo ends up with the number 20 ranked recruiting class, which I'm really happy with considering it was only a 14-player class. Let's go to position changes where we can assign the 4 athletes I brought in this year. So beginning with Timmy Schmitz, who is only a 60 overall. His archetype suggested offensive line, but I was hoping he could play D-line with his athleticism, and that is indeed where he ends up fitting best. Dan Calcaterra. This is one of the most interesting players I brought in this year. He was projected to fit as a tight end, 75 overall, or safety, corner, linebacker, receiver was an option. Calcaterra has 94 speed at 6'2". He has adequate break tackle, trucking, and some of those ball carrier moves ratings, but he also has a start with 81 release and mid-70s route running to play maybe receiver. Yet tight end was his highest rated position. He also had mid-70s zone and man coverage. So I listed him at tight end but wanted to see all the other opportunities for him. Next up, we get to James Trahan. Pretty good athlete, and he is going to fit best as a run-stopping linebacker. I like the speed acceleration combo, 79 strength there as well. I considered safety, but I like him more as a linebacker. 81 tackle in his skill set. His coverage ratings felt a lot better sticking at linebacker, so that's what we end up going with. And finally, Kenyon Traylor. The plan was to have him be a quarterback, but there were other positions that he apparently has a higher overall at because he's a really good runner. He can catch the football, has 85 juke, 80 spin, 86 spec catch. Wide receiver would be an excellent fit for Traylor, but I also think the upside at quarterback is undeniable. He has 90 throw power, pretty average, but 86 short accuracy. I had to see how he fit there first. Next up, we get to training results, and we see a massive leap forward for running back Jimmy Sampson. He is now a 90 overall, boosted to a 92. This is a very big leap for Jimmy, especially over the last 2 years combined. He's now the highest rated running back on the team, an excellent pass catcher, and can fill in that role we had Josh Bloom play for the last year. Sampson always had this high ceiling. I thought we'd eventually get somewhere close to here. Antoine Gatto is back. The offensive line is still very strong up front. And we even see big leaps from guys like Vince Scotland Williamson that should make the defensive line even deeper for next season. And we're ultimately returning like all of our defensive linemen we used last season, including Troy Hodell. Looking at the secondary now, we have to find a way to replace Byron Gammon. None of the corners took a huge leap, but we have some good options, and Larry Pan now stands out as the highest rated player there, although none of his ratings are all that overwhelming. We have some good options, including Devontae Carrion and Devin Hester, who played last season, but we need a new third to emerge. And at safety, we have Trent Cole and Anthony Titus now with 87 overall each. With Kalen Meekins graduating and going pro, There is now an opening that I think will be filled by Anthony Titus, who has excellent zone coverage. And at the quarterback position, Kharifi Jeffrey does not take a major leap forward. Now, his accuracy cap prevents him from getting too much better there to begin with, so none of our quarterbacks really separate with their ratings. So we're going to have a decision to make there, and there is gameplay in this video showing off the quarterbacks as we try to find who our starter is going to be in Season 8. Here at the running back position, it is extremely loaded as we see Keenan Cleveland enter as a 79 overall with that dangerous 97 speed, 92 acceleration combo. At receiver, Ben Van Roten will check in as a 79, while Carl Agnew is a 75. But who is this at number 2? That is Ray Dove. Now, I had made a list prior to the stream. I was trying to be prepared. I wanted a list of players whose skill caps weren't great that I thought we could release. Well, Ray Dove then jumps up to an 84 overall and is no longer on that list. He had a 2-touchdown game at the very end of last season and now gets a very big jump forward, along with Buck Jacob, who ends up being a 75. It seems these route-running archetype wide receivers might develop the best. On that list, I also had Nico Samuel, who just doesn't have a big receiving skill set, and his blocking isn't nearly good enough to stick on the roster in spite of that. I also had Jeff Marciano and Eric Sharp on that list of players whose ceilings were just very limited with other options that were going to suck up all the playing time there. I was happy to see that Amir Quarterman is now up to an 83 overall. The elite development hasn't had him developing at the same rate as some of our other players with that development trait, but his run stopping does take a big leap this season, which should lead him to rotate in a lot more frequently in Season 8. I wasn't sure if we would keep Kamani Ringo on the roster. His skill caps aren't great, and he's basically at his ceiling, but he does have good enough zone coverage, and linebacker is maybe one of the thinnest positions we have, when you consider that we have a lot of seniors and juniors at that spot. So his roster spot was suddenly safe. And then at wide receiver, we go back to see Joey Tucker, another player that's developed with exceptional route running, but very low speed and acceleration. I had to keep this in mind because we would have to cut 5 players to get this team ready for Season 8. And we get that process underway, encouraging the transfer of Nico Samuel, linebacker Cesar Franco, Jeff Marciano, and Soma Ojinaka, as we have our big trio there at running back solidified. But I also encouraged the transfer of D'Angelo Meyer, and I saved right before doing that. I wanted to see if he would end up on an actual team, but he did not. And rather than have him disappear from the Dynasty, I would then plan on redshirting him and try to make him want to transfer away at the end of Season 8. So then Joey Tucker became the last cut on the roster. The next stage is custom conferences, and we spent more time here than I anticipated, and I love where we ended up. I wanted some more control over our schedule in Season 8 because there are certain teams that I want to play. I also felt like splitting the conference into 2 divisions would be the best way to get a more accurate ACC title game next year. Because what we saw, and what I didn't know before this happened, we had 6 teams tie for the conference lead. And the game determines that tiebreaker by alphabetical order. That is not at all what is supposed to happen. It should be a common game tiebreaker. What is the record for these 6 teams against opponents we all played against? Well, we are the Buffalo Bulls and therefore have an unfair advantage in the way the game is handling the tiebreaker in College Football 25. I have only a couple options at my disposal to make this more fair. This solution also gives us the ability to better control our schedule. So we are splitting the ACC into 2 divisions, but also increasing the number of conference games to 9. The more games we play, the less likely there will be a tiebreaker. So, introducing the North and South Coast divisions, the ACC will now play 9-game conference schedules in 2 divisions of 9. And the winners of those divisions will square off for the ACC championship. Each division contains 9 teams, which means everybody plays everybody, plus 1 opponent from the opposite division. We are going to be in the same division as Boston College, Georgia Tech, Cal, North Carolina, Stanford, Syracuse. A lot of teams I've been wanting us to play against and teams that beat us last season. And that's going to give us this conference schedule, which I really like. We will have the chance to face David Ogbonna and North Carolina, but also get that in-state matchup finally against Syracuse. We also close the year, Virginia Tech, Boston College. Great games all around. We are going to play now 3 non-conference games to get ready for ACC play, including the Kentucky Wildcats with Joshua Bloom as their number 1 running back. I think this is a really good game to send us into conference play. We are also looking at Boise State, and this caught my attention during the stream. Their best player, his name is Corey Hurt, and he is hurt indeed. He has a torn Achilles, out 34 weeks. I was amused at the fact that he was named Hurt, was hurt, but had 99 injury. So that's really terrible luck for Corey Hurt, who might not get to play for his senior year. Where are the medical red shirts? Corey Hurt needs one. But I do think Boise State is a solid opponent for us to go up against in one of our first non-conference games. And their roster is honestly pretty solid outside of secondary. Like, it's mid-80s across the board until you get to cornerback and safety, where the roster just does not match the rest of the team. So Boise State will be on our schedule in Game 2. We'll take on Bowling Green in Week 1, or our first game, as they did beat us last year and we have a lot of history against them. They're just a good team for us to open the season against. What do you think of the Year 8 schedule? I had to then set up the recruiting board for another year of recruiting. And now we see Buffalo is a 4-star program. We are going to have even more hours to spend recruiting during the year. And this is now a 21 senior graduating class. So we're going to have to do a lot more than we did a season ago. I'll give you a deeper look at the players we're actually going to be focused on to begin the year. But we're seeing more 5-star players show initial interest in Buffalo, including the number 2 player in the entire country. And then we see a very large amount of 4-stars that already have Buffalo near the top of their list. No one wants to put them number 1, but we know how to get there by now. I found a lot of really good gems in this initial recruiting stage, and I'll go through the dozen or so players that we're really targeting right now. Moving on, we get to see ratings caps for all the new players. First up, though, Karifi Jeffrey. We know his accuracy cap is not great. It only has a little bit more room for growth. Kenyon Traylor, on the other hand, he has the ability to get much more accurate. His arm is 2 points weaker with 90 throw power, but he is also a superior rushing threat and playmaker. So Traylor suddenly looks very intriguing. At running back, Keenan Cleveland, the 5-star with elite development, has excellent traits, and he has a very high ceiling. We're not going to see him get faster, though. 97 is going to be his speed going forward. And we're also going to have him wearing the number 22. And wide receiver, Ben Van Roten, another elite 5-star talent, and he has the skill caps to go with it. Very high ceiling, many uncapped spots for some of these top players. Carl Agnew, 76 overall, really good caps. And remember, he's a 4-star player. These are some of the best caps I've ever seen for a 4-star receiver. Dan Calcaterra now. I have him first listed at wide receiver, where there are some limits to what he can get better at, and I wanted to find a spot where there was a higher ceiling. So we switch him over to defense, where, yeah, it seems maybe safety or corner could allow him to get a lot better. I mean, tight end, receiver, safety, I think he fits a lot. And during the stream, we were calling him a 5-tool player. Going to the offensive line, Jaron Missouri. Not the best caps to go for a 5-star talent, but still really good run blocking and pass blocking caps. Nolan Humphreys is a center with some caps that are going to limit his ceiling, but he should still be a potential starter. Jamar Freitas. We see heavy limits on pass and run blocking, unfortunately. Jeffrey Wire, back to the elite development players, and 3 limitless ceilings there for skill caps. And Timmy Schmitz at D-tackle, not too bad for a 70 overall who already has some good skills in place. We have James Trahan at linebacker, and we couldn't see his caps, and I still don't know what they are. Byron Lamb, the only cornerback we brought in this year. Very limited with zone coverage, not the best caps. And then Jermaine Toon looks like also has a limited ceiling at safety. The last player is Charlie Bowanko. He has a little more accuracy upside. He should be our kicker year 9. All right, who wants some gameplay now? I wanted to see number 22 Keenan Cleveland more than anybody. It was also a chance to see how these quarterbacks would play. We open with Kharifi Jeffrey, who's going to dump a pass out here, and Keenan Cleveland's going to show what he can do in the open field. Spoiler alert, 97 speed feels really fast, and Keenan Cleveland was a star in practice. Now, my plan was to see Kharifi Jeffrey become our starter, but I brought in Kenyon Traylor so I'd have options. Traylor ends up being both really good, but also has a ceiling that's really intriguing. Kharifi Jeffrey's mobility, I think, is similar to Ray Elway, where he can certainly move around and make plays out of the pocket. But like we saw when Babineau came in last year, there is another level, and that's where I think Kenyon Traylor is. Jeffrey's arm is stronger, and his accuracies are better right now, although we did see him miss a handful of throws here. We also get Jimmy Sampson in to see how he plays now that he is one of the highest rated players on the team. I also had freshman wide receiver Ben Van Roten on the field, number 12. You can tell the shiftiness here of Sampson's a very dominant skill, and he's just a really good pass catcher with very reliable hands. I then wanted to see what would Traylor show us that could make him a little more intriguing. Kenyon Traylor, he is, first off, very good on the move. This was one of his first plays, and it was an incredible first impression, just dropping this ball over the top right to Oscar McNabb. Then we get Traylor showing off how strong his arm is here on the move, and you're going to see Anthony Titus. He made a couple really good plays downfield in coverage that I felt solidified his starting spot. Traylor's accuracies are lower than Jeffrey, but I felt really good about them. Also got a lot of targets here to Ben Van Roten, where he was very good catching in traffic, showed very good athleticism. So I think he's going to be contributing right away. But Kenyon Traylor's playmaking certainly has to leave a strong impression. You know, when Kevin Babineau came into games late last season, it unlocked something the offenses were missing in those games because he's such a great rushing threat and was able to do so much on the move. And I feel like playing well at those times with Babineau make me think about what could happen with Traylor. He did have a couple misses as well. I wanted to show those, but man, some of these throws, well, this is indefensible right here. I mean, Trailer just chucking that ball to Keenan Cleveland, who runs the wheel route. Just some of the things that are possible are always going to stick in your head. You know that if you let these quarterbacks make 100 plays, the best play is probably going to be made by Kenyon Trailer in this case, because he's just a better athlete. Now, Jeffrey has an edge with arm strength that should stay there forever. But accuracy-wise, his edge is more temporary, considering there's a better skill cap situation for Kenyon Trailer. So it really forces you to think, who is the best quarterback for the team right now? Because there didn't seem to be anything that Trailer struggled at. Now, a lot of these throws are not the kinds of things we're going to be doing on a regular basis. This is not meant to be a high-flying, over-the-top passing game, but you want to test the limits of players, and you like to have options, of course. I still want this to be more of a quick passing game, getting the ball out and letting playmakers go make plays, where Jeffrey is probably better right now. But then you look at Trailer, and he might offer more variety into the running game, which is still a heavy emphasis. We have 3 excellent running backs. We're going to use all of them. During the stream, Kenyon Trailer had a lot of support at this point, so I made sure to get Jeffrey back in there to see if we can make some more plays and just, you know, double-check things, so to say. And I thought Jeffrey was excellent again, made some really high difficulty throws. I also like seeing all the plays we can make with Keenan Cleveland. I don't think we've ever had a talent like him. 97 speed is just different. And then looking at our wide receiver depth, suddenly much better than it was a year ago. I felt like there was even more room to expand the playbook with maybe some 4 receiver sets. We have some better route runners and slot archetype guys, but also some perimeter players that can really stress defenses out. That was a really good play by Larry Pan. Wanted to highlight that play. I like where this team is going into the new season, and any questions I have about the roster are mostly good problems to have. We have really good quarterbacks, very competitive roster, and I think we're going to be a better team than last year. So hopefully we can turn that into more wins, hopefully a chance at competing for the conference championship again in this new structure. And I'd certainly love your thoughts on the roster and who you're most excited to see when Season 8 kicks off against Bowling Green. I have a little more to show, though, from after the live stream, as I did get the playbook updated, and I didn't want to remove much. I just put in this 4-receiver set that'll give us a handful more plays. This one in particular I'm intrigued with. This looks like it could give man coverage all kinds of fits. Can't wait to bust that one out. Let's talk recruiting now, as I have gotten that process underway. We have 12 players I am putting points into right now. The main positions I'm emphasizing are defensive tackle, linebacker, and corner. We are losing 21 players, but it is very spread out, and I don't think any position is too much of a concern. We have a lot of really good sophomores and freshmen that haven't even gotten a chance yet. Starting off here, we have defensive tackle David Hutton, and we're already in first place for him. 5-star player, one of the best at his position, 88 finesse move, 85 tackle, and 91 strength. Hard to find anybody better than him. Colin Abraham, though, is a run stopper. That is an archetype I would just like to add more players, whether it's at defensive tackle or defensive end. Jason Clemens is a safety we're in first place for. He has really good speed at 91, 78 zone coverage. Fetu Sami, I really like him. He is an athlete, projected to play linebacker with 92 speed, 73 block shed, 85 tackle, 82 strength. He looks like an incredible player. Forrest Burden at cornerback, 98 speed to go with 81 zone coverage. Need I say more? Jamison Corner, we are in first place for him, and as his name suggests, he's an offensive lineman. 92 strength, very athletic. I really like Corner. He's my favorite offensive lineman. Jamison Simon is an inside linebacker with speed and cover ability. We need a lot of linebacker depth added to the team. Then we have Sinilau Ta'amu, a defensive end with 82 power move, 88 strength. He's not a run stopper, but he might have that skill set anyway. Steven Barnes is a power rusher with 80 power moves, 90 strength, 83 speed. Such a nice trio of ratings there. Jeff Wilkins is listed at guard. We're in second place for him. I like guards that have that elite strength, and his is sitting at 94. Jaquez Charlton is a cornerback. I like that slot archetype. We get 77 man, 93 speed, and 70 tackle feels pretty good too. Finally, Marco Ferreira, athlete listed at tight end right now. Just thought we could use another tight end to start developing. Can't really say if he looks incredible based off the information here, but he's a 4-star, top 10 at his position. I have set our red shirts for Season 8. We're going to see a lot of freshmen contribute. Now, I was moving around Dan Calcaterra's positions a bunch, and now he's listed as a 34 overall tight end. I can't tell why, because his ratings haven't dropped. I also moved safety Trent Cole, and his overall went down. I don't know if that's really a concern at all, but I guess 34 felt bad. I have redshirted D'Angelo Meyer. The plan is to basically have him sit this season out. I will be redshirting Carl Agnew, but not Ben Van Roten, who is just a little more refined right now. Better release, better route running, and more ready to take on an immediate spot. Jamar Freitas is going to be redshirted. No offensive lineman play as true freshman here. And we will redshirt Jeffrey Wire, given all the depth we have. James Trahan is redshirted along with Byron Lamb. So who should you be looking out for, the new players in Season 8? Well, of course, Keenan Cleveland is going to be on the field a lot with that 97 speed. We have an incredible combo now with him and DeMarco Lacombo. Ben Van Roten is also going to see a lot of snaps. He might be a starter. He has a very high ceiling and can already make plays, I think, similar to Roger Grimm last year with good short route running and athleticism. Nelly Jarrell didn't take a big leap this year, but still expect to see him out there from time to time. He's still the most intriguing vertical threat we have at the position. Now, we're replacing two really good guards from last year, so Dorian Henry will now be bumped up the depth chart, but I'm trying to find a spot as well for Charles Rust, whose ratings are just really good. He needs to start at either center or guard with these skills. And Anthony Titus at safety is going to be asked to cover a lot of ground and make our Tampa 2 cover 2 defense a little more reliable this season. I think he'll be a very nice upgrade at that position. But then we get to the quarterback position and a decision needs to be made. Who do you go with in this spot? These are the ratings. Karifi Jeffrey on top, Kenyon Traylor right below him. The accuracies are honestly very tight. Jeffrey's edge in some areas is very marginal. The greatest edge is maybe throw under pressure. Jeffrey, again, stronger arm that could still get stronger, but accuracy is capped, versus Kenyon Traylor, whose throw power is capped, but accuracy has a whole lot of room to improve. And he is more mobile with more playmaking ability there. Leave your thoughts down below. Who is QB1 in Season 8? And I will see you all when the new year gets underway.